Today is all about systems. Four that determine whether your business runs without you or stays stuck at your ceiling. I'm going to walk you through all four, and you'll see that most businesses between 1 and 20 million are missing at least two of them. And as a bonus, I'm going to give you a hands-on install for the one most founders get completely wrong. Something you can build this week, so you'll want to stay to the end for that. Now, after working with founders at every stage from 1 to 20 million, I've watched the same pattern play out dozens of times. They go out and they hire better people, they spend money on better tools and add more meetings to their calendar, and the business stays stuck at the same ceiling. Because tools and talent don't run a business, systems do, specific ones. And most founder-led businesses are missing at least two of the four I'm about to show you. So system one, a decision system. If I walked into your business right now and I asked your team, hey, a client wants to change their scope and it's going to cost an extra $3,000. Who approves that without checking with the founder? Could they answer that? Most can. And here's why that matters. Without a decision system, every decision in your business defaults to the highest authority in the room. That's you. Not because your team can't handle it. Nobody ever sorted which decisions are actually yours and which ones the team should be closing on their own. So what happens is this. Your ops lead gets a client request that's slightly outside of the normal scope. It's a judgment call. They could handle it, but they hit you up instead because the last time they decided something without checking, you reversed it. They haven't forgotten. Or maybe your marketing person needs to approve a $2,000 budget. They could approve it. There's no written threshold that says they can, so they wait for you. Now, multiply that by every person on your team every week. That's 20 to 30 decisions landing on your desk that aren't yours to close. They just don't have anywhere else to land. The fix is what I call the 3 tiers. You sort every recurring decision in your business into these 3 levels. So first is tier 1. These you close yourself. This is the strategy, the major hires, large financial commitments, the ones where the business legitimately needs the founder's judgment. Well, there's tier 2. These, your leadership team closes, but with guardrails. They're given authority to decide, but within boundaries that you define. It could be client scope changes under a certain dollar amount, hiring within a role the leader owns, or perhaps budget moves within an approved limit. Then there's tier 3. These, your team closes without asking. These are day-to-day execution, scheduling, vendor choices under a threshold, things like that. Anything that doesn't need a second opinion. Now, sort every decision once. Write it down. Stop touching the ones that aren't yours. If you do this, here's what shifts. The first week, your ops lead closes a tier 2 decision without messaging you, and the outcome is fine. Pattern starts to break. They trust the system. You get hours back, and the next decision stays where it should, in their capable hands. But a decision system by itself won't hold. Even with clear authority, execution falls apart without the second system. So system number 2, an operating rhythm. Most businesses don't have a real rhythm. They have reactions. Something breaks, someone calls a meeting. A fire starts and the founder jumps in. Problems get discussed in circles but never get closed. An operating rhythm replaces all of that with a pulse the whole team can feel, and it has 5 layers. First, a daily huddle. This is 15 minutes every morning, 3 questions per person. What did you close yesterday? What are you working on today? What's blocked? That's it. No discussions, no strategy. The huddle exists for one reason: to catch blockers before they compound, before things go off the rails. Problem surfaced Monday morning is like a 20-minute fix, but that same problem left silent until Friday, it's a fire that eats your whole afternoon. Now, if your business isn't the kind where everyone's in the same room every morning, this doesn't have to be a live call. A dedicated Slack channel where each person posts their 3 answers before 9 a.m. does the same job. Format is what matters. Medium, not so much. Second, a weekly leadership meeting. This is 60 to 90 minutes with a fixed agenda. Every section produces a documented decision with a named owner and a timeline. If your meeting doesn't produce that, you're not running a meeting. You're running a conversation. Cannot stress this enough. If your meetings are not ending with closed, documented decisions with a named owner, definition of done, budget, authority levels, and a fixed timeline, stop. You want outcomes, not discussions that lead nowhere. A third, a monthly review. This is where you stop looking at individual weeks and start seeing patterns, like which decisions keep getting stuck, which owners keep bouncing problems back. Where's the business going off course? Weekly meetings catch problems. Monthly reviews catch trends. Most founders never even install that layer. Now, fourth is the quarterly review. This is where you ask whether the business is actually moving toward the goals you set 90 days ago. Are systems you put in place holding up? Do the priorities need to shift? The quarterly is where you catch the slow drift that monthly meetings miss because each individual month looked fine. And now fifth, the annual review. Once a year, you step away and step back. You ask questions like, is the business structured for where it's going next or where it's been? Are the right people in the right seats? What worked this year that you should double down on? And what should you kill? This is the reset layer. Without it, you end up running next year's business on last year's assumptions. Now, most founders live week to week. The ones who build businesses that run without them build all 5 layers. Each one catches something the layer below it can't see. When this rhythm is running, 2 things happen. Fires get caught at smoke instead of blaze, and your team stops needing you in the room to make progress because the rhythm is the progress mechanism, not you. And in fact, this is the single most felt change you can make. Within a few weeks, your team will tell you the business feels different because it is. Now, decisions and rhythm will carry you a long way, but there's a third system that determines whether any of this survives the first time things get crazy. System 3, ownership that holds under pressure. So you've assigned owners. You said, this is yours. And the first time something got difficult, they brought it back to you. And of course, you took it. Both of you acted like that was perfectly normal. That's a label, not ownership. Ownership means when stuff hits the fan, the person holding it works the problem. They bring what genuinely needs your input and they close everything else. They don't hand it back and wait for instructions. And that only works if you've defined what fully held actually looks like. For every critical role in your business, you need to be able to answer these in writing. What does this seat own? What can it decide? What does strong look like? And what does weak look like? Can't answer those. What you've got is an assumption. And assumptions collapse the first time the business gets tested. Think of it like building a house. You can frame the walls and hang the drywall, and it looks like progress. But if you didn't pour the foundation first, walls shift the first time the ground settles. Written ownership standards are that foundation. And without them, everything you build on top moves or shifts when pressure hits. Now, the other piece is issue resolution. Most businesses have problems that circle for months. Of course, they get discussed in meetings, they get worried about in Slack threads, but nobody kills them. Clean issue resolution process has 6 steps. You need to ask, what's the issue? What's the root cause? What's the fix? Who owns the resolution? What does done look like? When does it get closed? Run that on every issue that surfaces in your weekly meetings, and problems stop circling. Instead, they start dying. Standard that bends when things get hard was never a standard. It was only a preference. When ownership is written down with clear boundaries and clear consequences, it holds because it's not dependent on your mood or whether you happen to be available that day. It's structural. Decisions are sorted. Rhythms running and ownership's installed. Those are 3 of the 4, but I saved the last one for a reason. This is the one most founders get completely wrong, and it's the one that tells you whether the other 3 are actually working. System 4, decision grade signal. You probably already have a dashboard. Maybe it's in a spreadsheet. Maybe it's in some tool your ops person set up like 6 months ago. But let me ask you this. When was the last time a number on that dashboard changed what someone actually did the next day? Can't answer that. Your dashboard isn't Signal. It's just a screen people waste time looking at. Most founder-led businesses have data with revenue numbers and client counts, maybe some project tracking or customer retention stats. But data and Signal are not the same thing. Data sits on a screen. Signal tells you what to do next. And most dashboards are full of data that nobody acts on. Here's what it looks like when Signal is missing. You're in your weekly meetings. Someone pulls up the dashboard and everyone looks at it. Some numbers are green, some are red. Nobody does anything different because of what they just saw. Maybe you say, hey, make sure you get those numbers back up. The meeting moves on, and you're still making real decisions based on gut feel and whatever you noticed in Slack or your email that morning. It's just a performance. Problem isn't the tool, it's not Notion or Google Sheets or whatever software someone sold you. So the first question isn't which dashboard tool should we use? The first question is who's going to own each number and actually do something when it moves? What is the plan of action when it does become yellow? What's going to happen when it's red? There must be a specific action plan for each case because signal quality isn't about the dashboard. It's about the person responsible for it. Someone has to own each metric, know where the data comes from, set the target, and take action when the number tells them to. Without that person, perfect metric dies in 3 weeks. It just stops getting updated. No one notices, and you're back to gut feel. It's not a tool failure, that's a driver failure. That's you. Metric needs someone holding in the same way a seat needs someone holding it. If nobody's holding the number stops getting updated, and 3 weeks later, you're back to guessing. Those are the 4 systems: decisions, rhythm, ownership, signal. Most founder-led businesses are missing at least 2 of them. Some are missing all 4, and that's why the business feels hard no matter how many people you hire or tools you buy. Now, I like to give you something usable in every video. So let me walk you through how to build System 4 right now, because Signal is the diagnostic layer. It tells you the truth about everything else. If your signal is right, you can see whether decisions are landing in the right tier, whether the rhythm is producing results, whether ownership is holding. Signal is how you know. Here's what I want you to do this week. Pull up your current dashboard, whatever it is, spreadsheet tool, whiteboard, whatever you got. And for every metric on it, run it through 6 questions. 1, who owns this metric? Not who built the dashboard, who is responsible for this specific number? If you can't name one person, the metric is orphaned, and orphaned metrics die every time. Question 2, where does the data come from? Someone pulling it manually? Is it automated? Can you trust it? The data source is someone goes and counts, and sometimes they forget. You don't have a metric, you have a guess. Question 3, what does it actually measure? Not what it's labeled, what does it measure? Client satisfaction isn't a metric. Percentage of clients who renewed this quarter, now that's a metric. You can't describe what the number captures in one concrete sentence. It's not sharp enough to drive a decision. Question 4, what's target? Not higher is better, a specific number that means we're on track, and a specific number that means something needs attention. Without a target, a metric is just a number on a screen. It doesn't tell you anything. Question 5, what's the response plan? This is the one that separates signal from noise. You need a written plan for 2 states. Yellow, the number is off track but recoverable. What does the owner do? Maybe they adjust the approach or flag it in the next weekly meeting and course correct within the week. And then red, the number is crossed into a place where something's broken. What happens then? Who gets pulled in? What's the escalation? What specific steps does the team take to fix it? Nobody has a defined response for each stage. You've got pointless data on a screen, not a system. And that number could turn red and sit there for 3 weeks because nobody knows what they're supposed to do about it. Fix that today. And then question 6, how often does it get checked? Is this checked daily, weekly, monthly? And is someone actually doing it on that schedule? A metric that should be checked weekly but only gets looked at monthly is going to miss every problem by 3 weeks. And by then, the problem is compounded into something 10 times harder to fix. Now run those 6 questions on every metric you're currently tracking. Here's what most founders find. Out of 8 or 10 metrics on their dashboard, maybe 2 of them pass all 6. The rest fail on at least 2 questions. Usually question 1, no clear owner, and question 5, no trigger for action. The gap between what you thought your dashboard was doing and what it's actually doing, that's the same gap you felt at the beginning of this video. The business feels hard because the system that should be working, they aren't finished. Metrics that fail aren't bad metrics. They're unfinished. They need an owner, a target, and a response plan. Upgrade those 3 and you go from a dashboard people glance at to a scorecard that actually changes decisions. And one more thing, after you've run the 6-question test, look at the metrics that passed. Ask yourself, is there a decision I'm currently making based on gut feel that could be made from one of these numbers instead? Because the goal isn't to have a clean scorecard. The goal is to make better decisions faster without needing you in the center of everything. That's decision grade signal. It's the difference between a business where you have to look at everything yourself and one where the numbers tell your team what to do next. Your business is hard right now. You didn't necessarily hire the wrong people and you didn't pick the wrong tools. 4 systems are either missing or unfinished. Decision system that sorts what's yours from what isn't. An operating rhythm that gives the whole team a pulse they can follow without waiting for you. Ownership that holds when things get hard, not just when they're easy. And signal that drives decisions instead of decorating a dashboard. You don't need all 4 perfect this week. Start with the scorecard. Run the 6-question test on every metric you're tracking. See what passes and what doesn't. Because once you can trust the signal, you can see whether everything else is working. If you want to go deeper on where your business still depends on you, built the free tool called the Founder Dependence Diagnostic. It maps exactly where you're still the bottleneck. It's free, it takes about 10 minutes, and the link's in the description. I'll see you in the next video.